And then question 2 was actually saying given arithmetic series over the series summation of something. And then as given as that, okay, I'm not going to read it. And then the first question says 2.1.1, calculate the values of x, showing that it will be -5. Okay, but what I want to remind you about a case like this, ne, you can to solve the value of x is involved in the series over there. So what I want to remind you is that in an arithmetic sequence or series, the common difference is constant, and the common difference is actually equal. That's why when we say constant, we're actually saying it's equal, okay? Because constant mean unchanging. So that's the same number. So which means if I am to calculate the common difference, okay, I can say that T3 minus T1 minus T2, sorry, I mean T3 minus T2 must be equal to T2 minus T1. And get it, the difference stands like this. T2 minus T1, and then T3 minus T2, and so on and so on. So what I did over there, I just equated the difference as that. So now that means my T3 is actually 3 minus x, and then my T2 is actually negative 2x minus 8, and then is equal to, what is T2? Negative 2x minus 8, and then what is T1? That's x plus a 1 over there. So now I'm just going to simplify this thing. When I simplify this, that means in this case, I'm going to have 3x minus x, and then plus 2, plus 2x, because when I multiply negative and negative, I get positive, and then plus 8. That's equal to negative 2x minus 8 minus x minus 1. And then from there, I'm just going to add them, subtract them, and so on and so on. So this one is actually going to be 3x minus x, and then that gives me 2. And then also this one, that is going to give me 4x. Am I still correct? 4x, 4x. Yes, and then plus an 8 over there. That's equal to, what do I get this side? This side I'm going to have, when I work this out, it's actually 3x. Yes, negative 3x, because it's negative 2x and negative x, and it gives me 3x. And then over there on this other side, this one and that one, it will give me, this one will give me negative 9, like that. So having done that, or in that case, this means that when I further simplify this thing, I'm not sure if I made a mistake somewhere, but I feel like I made a certain mistake over there. Let me verify. This one I'm good. This one I'm good. Okay. And then for this one, I actually have, I actually have, I feel like I made a mistake in this one. Oh yeah, I see. This one is actually 3, not 3x. Yeah, this one is, it is just 3 as it is. Because now I see my numbers are not adding up. That one was just 3. And then let me verify if I made another mistake. 2x. Yes, now it's sorted. So which means let me just restart over there. So now that means in this side, I have 3 plus 8, which is going to give me 11. And then I have plus x is equal to, and then on this side, it was still negative 3x, okay? Because it's negative 2x and negative x. And then from there, negative 8 and negative 1, it gives me negative 9. And then when I take maybe 8 to the other side, I'm going to get a 20. 11 plus 9, I mean. And then 20 is equal to, when I take this to the other side, it will become negative 4x, and then divide both sides by -4, I get my x as -5 over there. So that is what they wanted us to show in this question. Okay, that is what they wanted us to show over there. So having shown them that, or having us shown them that one, now they said, hence, determine the number of terms in the given arithmetic series. So to determine the number of terms, I need the first term because I'm given everything in terms of my x over there. So which means in that regard, what I'm actually going to do, I'm actually going to form a sequence. When I come here and substitute -5 in the place of x, I'm actually going to get a -4. And then when I put a -5 in that one, I get a 2. And then on the third term, I get an 8, and so on and so on. So now I'm going to look for the common difference because they told me it is an arithmetic. So my common difference is actually 6 and 6 when you subtract both of them. So now what I'm going to do, I know that the equation of, or the formula of sum is actually n divided by 2, 2a plus into n minus 1 multiplied by a d over there. And then here my sum, or the total, when I add them, all of them, I actually have 15,476, 15,476. And then what is my n? I don't know. I'm looking for it, the number of terms divided by 2. And then what is my first term? It's -4. I put it, and then plus, what is my n? I don't know. Minus 1. What is my difference? A 6 over there. So now I'm just going to simply solve the maths. 15,476 is equal to n over 2 into -8. And then plus, yeah, I have 6 multiplied by n. It's going to be 6n. And then -1 multiplied by 6 is actually -6 over there. And then close my brackets. Now I think I can't actually use that bracket. Let me remove these brackets and put the square bracket over there. So it's actually 8. And then also the last one was 6 over here. Yes. So I can use that bracket. And then don't forget that here I have an n. Yeah, n. So which means when I am simplifying there, 15,476 is equal to 8. Okay. For this one, I have n over 2 multiplied by 8. This is actually 8n divided by 2, which is equal to 4n over there. So that means to work this out, I have 4n, and then here I actually have 6n squared over 2, which is 3n. So I'm going to put what am I going to put? Plus 3n squared over there, and then minus 3n for the last one, 3n. As simple as that. And then now I can rearrange things. I actually have 3n squared plus this one and this one, I get an n. 4n minus 3n, I get an n. And then minus, when I take this to the other side, it will become -15,476 is equal to a 0. So having done this, or in this case, I can simply use my formula here, or the quadratic formula. So sometimes you can just put it on your calculator and then you tell them the values of n, but okay, fine. In this case, let's just use this. X is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So this means my b is actually 1 plus or minus the square root of what? What is b? 1 squared minus 4a. What is a? 3. And then what is What is my C? Negative 15,476. And then I close my brackets. And then I have 2 into 3. Now you can tell them. From there, you can further simplify you want all you want, but let me just go straight to the values I had got for x is equal to. The first one I got 71.66, and the second one I had negative 71.99, of which this one it fails. And then this one, this is the value that we're taking. X is equal to, you can round it to the whole number, and then maybe to 72, like that. You can round it. So that is what we have over there. And then, yes, that is what we have to reject the negative one because number of tens can never be negative. That is that. And then now, when we come to 2.2, it says that the 88th term of quadratic sequence is given as that, and then the given general term of the first difference is given as that, or the general term of the first difference is given as that. Okay, fine. And the first difference of a quadratic is a linear minus 8. It's a linear like that. And then the question says determine the first three terms. So you just come and put 1, you put 2, and you put 3. So when you do that, from my working, when I was doing the substitutions, I got okay, let's just work it out. T1 is equal to negative 6 into 1 minus 8. And then you're going to actually get a negative 14. And then for the second one, for T2, you will get negative 20. For T3, you will actually get a negative 26, and like that. And then now you're sorted. They only wanted 2. Now we can write them in this form, negative 20, negative 26 over there. So having done that, or having done this, the second question was given to you now, because this one was just 1 mark. Okay, the second question says, hence from what you did above, determine the expression for the general term of the quadratic series or sequence. Okay, general term of that one. But you know that the general formula is actually Tn is equal to an squared plus bn plus a c. Okay, this is the general equation of the general sequence or formula. So in this case, for as far as we're concerned, we know that what we actually know is that if I had certain values over here, let me just say we have x, we have y, we have z, and then this is the first difference, and then the second difference. Let's just see on our second difference what we actually have. On our second difference, this is actually negative 6 and negative 6. Okay, so you're allowed to tell them that generally this is equal to 2a, this is equal to 3a plus b, and then this is equal to what? This is equal to a plus b plus c. This is generally what you know. So from there, because you have this, you can talk about it. 2a is equal to negative 6. And then that means your a is actually equal to negative 3. You're sorted. Okay? This is general, what you know from mathematics that you learned in class. And then that means for 3a plus b is actually equal to negative 14 over there. Okay? So that means you already have 3 into negative 3 plus b is equal to negative 14. And then that means to find your b, you take this to the other side and then it becomes positive 9. So you actually have negative 14 plus 9, which will give you what? Your b will actually be negative 11. Could it be negative 11? No, it will be -5. I was confused. -5, your B, that's your B. So after you have got your B, what is it that you're going to do to get your C? It's simple. I get it, they told you. They told you the 88th term is this one. So you're going to use it. You're going to use that information. You have T88, but your general equation or your general form is actually n into 88 squared plus, oh no, let me first write the general equation. Tn is equal to a n squared plus bn plus a c. So this one would actually be, they said -23,647 is equal to, what is your a? Your a is -3, then you have 88 terms, and then your b is actually -5. I have -5 into 88 over there. And then from there, what about my C? My C, I don't know. I'm looking for it. And then when I work this out, I actually have 22 or 23,647 is equal to, that's going to be equal to -23,672 plus a C. And then my C will actually be, when I take this to the other side, it's going to become positive. Then my C is actually 25 from there. And then that means your general, it's Tn is equal to -3 n squared minus 5 n plus 25. Okay. And to verify it, you can come and put 88 in the place of n. You must get that guy over there. As simple as that. And then you are done with the equation over there. So 3.1.2 says evaluate that thing. Evaluate this thing. And this is basically a sum, right? So I'm going to rewrite it at the bottom there so that we can work it out where there is space. It says we have 14 k is equal to 3, and then we have 10 multiplied by into -3 over 2, and then we have 2 minus k over there. So what we're going to do in order to evaluate over here. So in this type of questions, when you evaluate, you make a sequence. Okay, after making a sequence, and then you find the common ratio or the difference, and then from there you calculate the sum. Okay, so in this type of question, the reason I'm saying so is because we are given the number of terms. Okay, that's the first thing that we need to do to find the number of terms. Number of terms is equal, it's n is equal to top minus bottom, top minus bottom plus 1. This is the formula of number of terms. So which means we are going to have, what is our top? It's 14. What is our bottom? That's 3. And then plus 1 over there, of which when you do this in the calculator, you are certainly going to get, it's 14 minus 3. Let me verify. That's 14 minus 3 plus 1, which gives us 12. So 12 is the number of terms. So our sequence is 12 summations over there. So now what you're going to do, the next step, you need to find the sequence or the series sequence. By doing that, you're going to take this number, you start by this number, you substitute it over there. Okay, that will be your first series or your first sequence. Let me just say sequence. I think this is a sequence summation. So it's going to be actually, let me do it on the side. It's 10 multiplied by -3 over 2, 2 minus k, 2 minus 3, I mean 2 minus 3, and then this actually gives us -20 over 3. All right, so this is the first one. So for number 2, we need to get at least 3 of them so that we can make the difference. We can do the divisions over there. So the second one will be 10 into negative 3 over 2. It's 2 minus 4. Now you're continuing. You go 4, 5, 6, and so on and so on. And then this one will give us 40 over 9 over there. And then this is the second one. The third one, number 3, the last one that we can need is 10 into negative 3 over 2, and then 2 minus a 5 over there. And of which is going to give us negative 80 over 27. So having done that, you can come and put your sequence like this: 40 over 9, negative 80 over 27. Now you're good. Now you're good. The first thing that you need to do now, you're going to first find the difference. If you find the difference that there is constant difference, that means it is an arithmetic. Then if that fails, there's no constant difference, you test the common ratio. And then if you find that the common ratio is constant, that means your sequence is that yeah, it's what F. So that means we're going to have our what is this? Our common ratio. Because when I was calculating this, I got that we have a common ratio over there. So it's going to be 40 minus 9 divided by negative 20. This is a bigger bracket. To do this in your calculator, you can put that on the bracket, and you also put the denominator on the bracket divided by 3. And then of which you get your answer as negative 2, negative 2 over 3 over there. And then if you also take this and divide it by this, you're going to get this, which means that is a common ratio over there. So now, what we're actually going to do, we are just going straight to our formula, which is n is equal to a into Rn minus 1. This is the formula for geometric r minus 1 over there. So what is our first term? Our first term is negative 20 over 3. That's our first term. And then now you can open a bigger bracket because you need to put this common ratio on a bracket. And then you have your n as 12. That's the number of terms minus 1 over there. And then you close. And then you have negative 2 over 3 minus 1. Okay. And then you just do that in the calculator. When you do that in the calculator, you're going to get your answer as negative 3.97. And then you're good. Then you're good, just like that. Just like that. And then that was the 5 marks that you needed. And what you needed to do for that 5 marks. And then the second question says, given the converging infinity geometric series, given as that, determine the expression for R in the common ratio of the series in the terms of X. We need to determine R in terms of X. So that means your answer must contain X at the end of the day. That's what they want. So I'm going to just erase this. I'll erase this and remove form. Just like that, and then that's gone. So which means now what you're going to simply do, you're going to work this one out. To determine R, your R, you know, R is equal to T2 divided by T1, okay? So this is what we're going to work with. That means this is actually going to be 1 minus 4x plus 4x squared over there, divided by 9. All divided by what? All divided by 1 minus 2x divided by what? By 3. Okay, fine. Now you are dividing a fraction with a fraction. What do? You turn the dividing fraction upside down and then you multiply, okay? So that means you're going to get 1 minus 4x plus 4 x squared over 9 multiplied by 3 over 1 minus 2x. Okay, so when you're doing your multiplication over here, you will find that this one and this one, they'll cancel each other, and then over there you'll be left with 1, you will be left with 3. Okay, so which means at the end of the day, when you further work this out, you will have 1 minus 4x plus 4x squared over there, and then the denominator will be 3 into 1 minus 2x close brackets. But you're not finished, you're not done. Someone can leave it over there, but for me it's not done. What I'm simply going to do further is that I'm going to further solve this. What will I do? I'm going to factorize the numerator there, and then that means when I factorize that thing, because this one is basically 4x squared plus minus 4x plus a 1 over there. This is what we have. So this, when we factorize that thing, it gives us 2x and 2x, 1 and 1. And then we have negative and negative over there. But on the denominator, I'm going to rearrange this thing. The way I rearrange it, I factor out the negative, which means I will say negative 3 into 2x. Okay, I took this negative out. This one will become a positive. That means that that one will become a negative minus 1 over there. You see now, life is simple. I can just cancel and cancel. What am I left with? I'm left with 2x minus 1 divided by negative 3 over there. This is r in terms of x. That's your r. As simple as that. Now we're done. So having done that, we have our r now in terms of x. And then they also want us, they said, hence, determine the values of x for which the series will converge. But when you know, for now, you must know that when a series converges, 3.2.2, when a series converges, negative 1 must be less than r, but r must be less than 1. Okay, that is for converging series. But you know, that r, we have simplified it over there in 3.2.2. So which means it's basically going to be negative 1 less than 2x minus 1 divided by 3. Okay, and then this will be less than 1 over there. So from there, we're just going to simplify this. Oh, there is a negative, by the way. When you multiply both sides by the denominator, you're going to get 4 is less than 2x minus 1 less than a negative. Oh, it's not actually 4, it's 3 that side. It's 3 because we are multiplying, not AD. It's it's a positive 3, and then this one will be negative 3 over there. Negative 3. So now I'm going to transpose this guy to both sides. And then when I transpose it to the other side, I have 4 less than 2x. And then when I transpose it that side, I will have negative 2. And then I divide both sides by 2. Then I'll have a 2. It's less than x. X less than negative 1 over there. And that is my answer that they wanted. Determine the values of x for which the series will converge. I'm good. Now, the last question is, if x is equal to 1 over 2, determine that thing, sum to infinity. Okay, what I'm going to do in that question, I must first express my equation or my series in numbers. Okay, I had this thing in the place of x. I'm going to put negative 1 over 2. Okay, that's just what I'm going to do. So when I come and say 1, let me go back. When I come and say 1 minus 2 into negative 1 over 2 divided by, is it divided by 3? Yes, divided by 3. What do I get? I get 2 over 3 over there. if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify. That's 1 minus 2 into negative 1 over 2, and then they're all divided by 3. Yes, I get this as my answer. And then I'm also going to do the same thing with that one, with the second one. Yeah, okay. But when I can do that, now what I got from my calculator when I was working it out, I got negative 4 over 5. That is what I had. Okay. So now, because I have these two values, I need to find my R, the common ratio. Or to find the common ratio, you can also just put it over there. Okay. You can just put, okay, you can also come and simply say 2 into negative 1 over 2 minus 1 divided by negative 3. And then this will give you 1 over a 6 over there. So now you have R, you also have A. This is A, by the way, A. So sum to infinity will be equal to A over R minus 1. Okay. So from there, what is your A? It's 2 over 3. What is your R? 1 over 6 minus 1. And then what you will get at the end of the day, you simply get negative 4 over 5. Oh, this negative 4 over 5, for it was not for 1 minus 4x plus 4x squared. No, this is not the answer for this one. I made a mistake over there. Negative 4 over 5 is the answer for this that I had got from my calculator when I was working this out. And then, yeah,